Let's get into all of that with John Wagner, White House reporter for The Washington Post, who just co-wrote a piece about how the president is weighing major changes in his staff because of all of this. John, thank you so much for coming in. We'll get to the Kushner piece in a second, but much of the lead of your story is about this war room. What's that about?
Well, interestingly enough, it sounds like the Trump White House is about to take a page from President Clinton's White House. During the days of the Monica Lewinsky and other scandals, they set up essentially a crisis management team where you have a number of communications aides, a number of lawyers, a number of political staffers who are essentially walled off from the rest of the White House, and they attempt to handle these issues so that, to the extent possible, the White House can continue to function normally and not have to deal with as much incoming on these issues.
So if they do that, I know your piece also mentioned a reshuffling of senior staff. Is that because of the war room or bigger issues?
That's in part. The president has kind of made clear, both publicly and privately, that he's not thrilled with how his communications staff is doing. So there's talk of a number of different scenarios there, perhaps with Sean Spicer, the White House press secretary, playing a diminished role, maybe seeing a revolving cast of characters doing the White House briefings in a couple of weeks. And there's even talk about other senior staffers and how secure their jobs are. I don't think we're going to see any immediate changes, but now that the president's back in the country, a lot of these things are being actively discussed.
You talk of a diminished role, all that you all have been reporting, and we've been reporting as well on this back channel, right, between Kushner and discussions with the Russian ambassador and the Kremlin. Tell me about a potential smaller role that you're hearing that Jared Kushner could play as this has all taken front and center headlines.
Well, I mean, it's interesting. He has such an expansive portfolio focused on everything from the Middle East to, innovations in the White House. Yet, the public rarely hears from him directly. So I don't know how noticeable it would be to the public, but there are certainly people who are counseling him within the White House to lay low for the foreseeable future.
Lay low and take on a smaller role are two very different things.
Well, right. I think we're not going to see much of him publicly. There's some in the White House who have even suggested, apparently not directly to him, but our reporting has shown that they think he should consider taking a leave until the Russian crisis is resolved. I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, the president's statement was pretty unequivocal.
Yeah. John Wagner, excellent reporting. You and The Washington Post, thank you so much for joining me on this holiday. Let's continue the conversation here in just a moment. One person really troubled by the latest news about the president's son-in-law is Senator John McCain, who is actually visiting Australia and just spoke with a TV network there.
My view of it is I don't like it. I just don't. I know that some administration officials are saying, well, that's standard procedure. I don't think it's standard procedure prior to the inauguration of a president of the United States by someone who is not in an appointed position.
Caitlin Huey-Burns, a national political reporter for Real Clear Politics, was with me here. Good to see you.
Good to see you, too.
So talking to John about Jared Kushner here, and now we also have reporting from our own Jeff Zeleny that if you noticed, during this, 9-day overseas trip of the president's, Jared Kushner left early, and according to Jeff Zeleny, he didn't actually just want to be by the president's side when this news was going to drop, in a sense being protective of the commander-in-chief and his father-in-law. What do you make of that decision?
Well, it's really interesting, too, and we've heard from Kushner's lawyer saying that he will comply with anything that he needs to. But as John alluded to, this certainly is going to be a cloud over this White House, given Jared Kushner's proximity to the president. Not only proximity, but also, he is the most trusted aide of this president, and there's so much that we don't know about him. He's not a public official. He doesn't have experience, proven experience, I should say, with the things that he is tasked with, and he is in an unconfirmed spot, which means that he didn't have to undergo the kind of scrutiny, the public scrutiny, that other people in the administration have.
His family. His family. And, there's all this reporting about he is the eyes and the ears and, top advisor, yet the New York Times has been reporting on some friction between the president and Jared Kushner, including when Jared Kushner's sister pitched potential investors in Beijing to invest with the promise of this, U.S. visa. President Trump's photo even appeared on a slide in her presentation. And so the New York Times is reporting that the president, days later, made several snarky comments in the wake of that. So their relationship not picture perfect.
Right, and it's also, as you mentioned, family. It's not like another position where he could perhaps, fire that person. The relationship gets a little tricky here, but the fact that this would continue to linger on as he is involved in lots of different issues in the White House, and as the president is establishing that war room, trying to at least publicly kind of let them handle that portion of the Russia investigation and get back to domestic issues, which is what lots of lawmakers on Capitol Hill want to get back to. This creates a big cloud that I think will just linger for months and months and months, putting his job in question.
Right. We know the president is back. The president has been back on Twitter. There was a massive Twitter storm, that I saw when I woke up yesterday morning. Let me just read a couple of them, and we'll quote, "It is my opinion that many of the leaks coming out of the White House are fabricated lies made up by the hashtag fake news media." Here's another. "Whenever you see the words sources say in the fake news media, and they don't mention names, it is very possible that those sources don't exist, but are made up by fake news writers. Hashtag fake news is the enemy." But here's the thing, and when you listen to and read from a lot of these White House reporters, they point out that Trump's White House asks for permission to speak without attribution to reporters all the time. Also, a couple of days ago, the president said he wanted his administration to find the leakers, and now he's saying the leaks coming out of the White House are fake. My question is, or my statement is, you can't have it both ways.
Right, exactly. And, not only this White House, but all White Houses talk to reporters on background. Capitol Hill, same thing. Lots of different, sources here. The thing about this, too, that raises a big question mark is that the president also cited sources while going after President Obama for his birth certificate and questioning his nationality and things like that. So it really, what he's trying to do is say to the public, look, this is all made up, and to his base of supporters, that really speaks to them. But it is really you can't have it both ways, and it's really troubling for a White House to condemn sources within the White House, but also for journalistic purposes. This raises a lot of concern, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. Caitlin, thank you very much.